This is the point that we want to discuss, what's making headlines, or has been making headlines over the past few days, and that is to do with the maize situation in the country, where we now see President Kenyatta furious and, of course, making orders to the Agriculture Ministry and the National Cereals and Produce Board to go ahead and pay the farmers what they owe them. We understand that the ministry still owes farmers up to 3.5 billion shillings, and so far 1.4 billion shillings has been released to go to the farmers, and there's that stern warning by the president that the ministry must ensure that all this money is received by the farmers. But of course the controversy has been bigger than that. We already know that initially the government was supposed to procure maize worth 6 billion shillings, but eventually the ministry and the NCPB went ahead to procure up to 11.5 billion shillings, much of which went to some traders, some suspicious traders that the government and some of the officials have had to face some charges in court. We'll be joined by the chairperson of the Agriculture Committee, that is Eden Haji. He's also the Member of Parliament for Mandera South Constituency, and of course, Mheshimiwa karibu sana. I understand that this is your first time that you are gracing our studios at Citizen TV. So really, I rarely ask this, but how does it feel to finally be here?
It's okay. I have no issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll be talking about the situation with maize. As I said, he's the chairperson of the Agriculture and Livestock Committee and has been handling some of these investigations. But we want to begin with a story that the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture appeared before the Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture on May 30th. That was 30th of May. And he had a lot to say to the committee. That's the time that he was saying that some of the maize that was bought by NCPB was facilitated, or rather was delivered by some traders who were of suspicious character. So let's listen to that story of 30th of May 2018. The 63 traders delivered a total of 1.2 million bags of maize to NCPB depots at Bungoma, Kitale and Maize Bridge, making away with 1.57 billion shillings, much of which has already been paid by NCPB. This adding to the initial list of 21 traders that supplied maize to Kisumu, Eldoret and Nakuru depots. But members of parliament are not satisfied with the names in Kinjuri's list, calling for naming of those behind the names.
The big fish here is this lady who delivered and is paid already 333 million. If you have any other big fish, where is that fish? I have already tabled, these are the fish here. You can now scout which is the big one.
Maybe the ministry can tell us clearly, is it only from farmers that you can buy maize?
Honorable Adam,
or do you also buy from traders?
Okay. That trader has also a right to sell maize to National Cereals and Produce Board. If you are a trader today and buy maize from your neighbor at 2,100, already you have defeated the purpose.
So the big fish, or those who are hiding behind these big those small traders can only be established after EACC and other investigative arm of the government.
And that is where we are not ruling out of influential people. And those influential people, I have assured you, they are not in my ministry. So this committee should now be able to investigate further on who is behind it.
That physical count should be done as quickly as possible by the ministry, so that we know exactly what is written on papers. The number of bags that has been supplied is the number of bags that are within our stores.
Honorable CS, kindly do provide us with physical count of what is in the depot within 21 days.
But the main concern of our farmers, the people we represent, when will these farmers be paid? And when will you reopen the stores for the other farmers to deliver their maize?
I cannot commit that we are going to open the stores again. We need to go through the process now, verify, and if there is opportunity, then we can be able to look at it.
And the list keeps on growing, now at 84 suspicious traders that took away an opportunity reserved for thousands of farmers. While loss of money is still in doubt, what's not in doubt are the tribulations of farmers who have now to contend with debt stock in their homes, as well as unpaid debts with their financiers. Sam Gituku, Citizen TV at Parliament. Well, back in studio, that was a story that we filed back on 30th of May 2018, and you are the chair presiding over that session. And there are a few issues that come out of that. First of all, there was the position that the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, Mwangi Kiunjuri, was saying that it is up to the committee to proceed on with the investigations, because according to him, there should be there are some big fish, which according to him, he was presenting names before you, but your members were not as convinced. Do you think, or have you been able to do independent investigations on who specifically was involved in selling this maize and how, whether there was a cartel or just people innocently supplied maize to NCPB?
Thank you very much, Sam. From the onset, I would like to express my disappointment at the way the Kenyan farmer has been handled. Mm-hmm. They have been turned and tossed between State Department for Devolution and ASAL, and some other times in the Ministry of Agriculture. Mm-hmm. That is unfair, that is uncalled for. It is quite unfortunate that farmers who have tried so hard to produce maize in these regions are now enduring such kind of difficulty as they deliver their products to the NCPB stores. Mm-hmm. Coupled with that, the previous payment have also, obviously, as you have just played here, that people who supplied maize happen not to be the farmers themselves. They happen to be traders, mm-hmm. unscrupulous traders who took advantage of the situation. And unfortunately, the ministry, when the money was disbursed, mm-hmm. these people were the same people who were paid first. Mm-hmm. We, as a committee, we have also listened very carefully to the plight of farmers. We've even visited farmers in the North Rift, in the South Rift, in Mombasa, mm-hmm. also to follow up with certain concerns that these farmers had. Right. During that time, they brought to bear the fact that they are having difficulty mm-hmm. in supplying to National Cereals and Produce Board, mm-hmm. and that their payment were not forthcoming as promised. They were promised within 24 hours of delivery, they would be paid. Sadly, this wasn't to be. Mm-hmm. And so farmers in Kenya have endured quite a bit of difficulty as they did their normal sort of businesses of growing, of course, maize to supply to this country, right. to be able to make us food secure. On top of that, these farmers have also been faced with a myriad of challenges in terms of 16% VAT slapped on pest control products, which mm-hmm. was before zero rated. Mm-hmm. We, as a committee, we tried so hard to be able also to reverse that situation, but sadly, this bill was already assented to by the president, and mm-hmm. it will take another 6 months before this bill, before we can do any amendment to it. Meanwhile, mm-hmm. we are lobbying with the Ministry of the Treasury to be able to do an exemption so that the pest control products mm-hmm. Are not
because it
doesn't attract VAT the way they have. Since independence, there has been no VAT on pest control products. Mm-hmm. We have also had, the same farmers have endured issues to do with fall armyworms infestation, on top of the difficulties that they have with the 8% of obviously the cost of production rising right. as a result of the 8% fuel mm-hmm. VAT on fuel. Mm-hmm. And so all this, in fact, has really affected the Kenyan farmer in a negative way, and they do not deserve the kind of treatment they are receiving. Mm-hmm. As a committee and National Assembly, we take exemption to the way they have been treated, and we want the ministry to be held to account. Once all this dust settles, the ministry should, unfortunately, this is a very important and very large ministry. Right. Sadly, we have the minister who is new. The PS for crop has been asked to step aside, sure. and so we have a new PS acting on that capacity. Mm-hmm. We also have new PS for livestock. We have new PS for research. You need institutional memory. Yes. To be able to run this huge and very valuable and important ministry in the government.
And yet the work has to be done. I remember, or we even heard from that report that you are giving the Cabinet Secretary 21 days to go ahead and do a physical count of the stocks that are within the NCPB stores. Was that ever done by the 22nd of June? Do you have a report, and would you know how much stocks that we have at the NCPB stores?
Yes, as you rightly put, and you saw it in the caption there, we wanted to know whether the country or the taxpayer got value for the money, because we've had a lot of allegations, unscrupulous traders taking advantage. We have also visited the site, and we found that the way bridges were not working optimally as they should. So we felt as a committee that there is more than meet the eye. So we sanctioned, committee sanctioned stock taking, physical stock count of all maize that are in the NCPB stores countrywide. I'm happy to report that we have a report showing 69 national cereals and produce maize depots in 6 regions where the stock counts were done. This includes South Rift, North Rift, we have Central and Eastern, Coast, Lake region, or rather Western, and Northeastern Kenya. The physical stock count revealed 6,516,425 bags of 50 kilogram maize are in those stores, which are worth 11.5 billion.
And was it possible to verify whether the stocks you find in the NCPB is what was supplied within the window, or rather for the season of 2017-2018?
The report we have actually are the maize that was supplied between 2017 and 2018. We wanted to establish whether there are variances with what have been supplied and what are physically in the stock. And this report showed that over 12,000 bags of 50 kilogram maize were missing due to one reason or the other from all these 69 National Cereals and Produce Board centers or depots. So we have about 12,019 kilograms bags of 50 kilograms, which is worth 21,362,289, which is missing.
And was it ever explained by the NCPB officials why such kind of stock would be missing?
They have given the reasons, but in my considered view, that is not valid enough for us to, consider it as something. They are talking of spillage. They are talking of damage in transit. They are talking of, the consignment of maize received were 1 to 3 bags short sometimes. These are the kind of reasons they are giving. And remember, Sam, this is only the difference between what has been delivered and what is actually in those stores at the moment. But there are other losses as a result of the storage in the warehouses, which we are going to discuss later. We are talking of 1,500 bags, which is the stock from 2016-2017. That's about 2.5 years. And there are those was from 2017-2018, which have already shown the signs of discoloring, and some of them turning yellow. They are totally obsolete, unfit for human consumption. And if you add up this value, the taxpayer has lost a lot of money in this National Cereals and Produce Board. So we need further investigation, and someone either in the ministry or in the National Cereals and Produce Board must be held to account.
Right.
This is totally unacceptable.
Before we get into those details, first of all, I want us to look at some of the things that have been happening from the slides that we have. In as far as these investigations are concerned, we already know that there are several officials that are already facing charges. We have one, Richard Lesiampe, who is the Principal Secretary for Crop Development. We have Newton Terrell, who is the former Managing Director of the National Cereals and Produce Board, as well as Colonel Kiprotich Ngeleche, who is the Finance General Manager of the National Cereals and Produce Board. These are some of the officials that already before court, they are out on bond of, I think, 3 million Kenya shillings, that is cash bail, and 6 million shillings bond. Then some of the charges that they are facing is neglect of official duty, abuse of office, and failure to follow laws on public funds management. Of course, the details to that is that they allowed procurement of maize up to 5.6 billion shillings, which was in excess. Then there are some other issues that these are the information that we got from the Ministry of Agriculture, that the traders that were on the spot in Eldoret, there were 8 traders who raked in 873 million shillings out of the procurement that was done by NCPB. In Kisumu, there were 5 traders who raked in 416 million shillings. In Nakuru, there were 8 traders who raked in 156 million shillings, and in total, those were 21 traders who were able to get 1.4 billion Kenya shillings. Of course, there's an error there, but it's 1.4 billion Kenya shillings that should have gone to the farmers. Then after that, some of the big names that we got were Celestine Chepchirchir, who supplied 226,000 bags, each bag weighing 50 kilograms. So that was valued at 397 million shillings. But of course, by that time, that was in May 2018, there were pending balances. Of course, there were so many others. Apart from Celestine, that is Stephen Kiprop. Stephen Kiprop, that's still Celestine, still who got 397 million Kenya shillings in Kisumu. Because they supplied maize in Kisumu. Then there was Caroline Chepchumba, who supplied 121,000 bags, valued at 216 million shillings. And of course, those slides will continue to run. But Chairman, looking at these graphics, it would show you that even though these farmers, when you spoke to them, or when Citizen TV spoke to them, they were saying that it was not a corrupt dealing. Theirs was just to look for maize from small-scale farmers from their regions and supplying this to the NCPB. From where you see it, is this an illegality, and is there a way of ensuring that only the genuine farmers supply maize to NCPB?
Well, this is an illegality. I must tell you that I am privy to a discussion where the Deputy President, His Excellency William Ruto, asked the Minister or the CS in charge of Agriculture that he should stop everything else and begin to mobilize all resources, all the human resources available within the ministry, and if possible even pull others from other ministries to be able to begin to vet the farmers with a view to coming up with a genuine list of farmers so that they can be paid the dues. Unfortunately, these farmers have been taken round in circles since October last year. And when finally the money was paid out, as you've just rightly said, that there quite a number of those traders were paid and the genuine farmers were left out. And so the whole issue around whether or not there was a process, the process was there. This process has taken quite a bit of time. The vetting is supposed to have been done. And this was from people from the ministry as well as the administration, including the DCCs, including the commissioners, including the chiefs in the region, to be able to establish whether indeed these farmers, which are said to have supplied maize to NCPB, were genuine farmers.
Right. Chairman, I just wish we had more time to go through these details, but of course now we understand that 1.4 billion shillings has been released by the Ministry of Agriculture, and there has been a stern warning by the President that that money has to be paid to the farmers. Just your final word, do you think finally that farmers are going to get what belongs to them just before they conclude the current season?
First of all, I understand the frustration of His Excellency the President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta when he really was furious. And he expected this time round that the money that the Exchequer releases would be paid to farmers and not unscrupulous dealers like what we had in the past. We as a Committee of Agriculture, and in fact me as a chairman, we are equally in the same shoe with the President. We keep asking the ministry, and the ministry keep telling us, promising us this and that. And finally, when the fact comes out, when payment is done, the genuine farmers have not been paid, other people have been paid. And so you are left wondering, you know, what are we supposed to do? And so the outburst you saw with the President is really a cross-cutting. It is also all of us who have who are doing the oversighting as opposed to implementing. So the departments which implement are actually doing disservice to this country in terms of coming up with sustainable solutions.
Is the problem the systems or the personalities that are heading that
The
ministry?
problem is there is total confusion in the ministry. This ministry already, as I told you, that we have very new minister, we have PS who
the solution is?
The solution is that there must be a way that we can vet these farmers, separate the real farmers from these unscrupulous dealers, then so that we do not have the cycle of loss of taxpayers' money through unscrupulous dealers like what we have had.